Hello, I'm John Muir, and I'm going to be telling you a bit about my life today. I started my journey with nature in the summer of 1877 when I left the fields of Pasadena in California and began following the Eaton Creek into the San Gabriel Mountains as they loomed overhead. This trail was beautifully shaded by the oaks and was surrounded by thick chaparral that covered the hillside in what looked like a prickly fir. All I carried was 3 freshly baked loaves of bread and a bottle of water. I was 40 at the time and never knew how well known I was to become. I never imagined that I would become the founding president of the Sierra Club, become the greatest forerunner of what you call environmentalism. I just enjoyed hiking and loved nature and the people in it. I remember this instance where I was hiking up the trail into Eaton Canyon and came upon a strange, dark man of doubtful parentage, who had built himself a nice little cabin alongside a stream. Seeing as it was getting dark, the man invited me in to share a meal and bed down at his campfire, and we fell into conversation for hours about nature and how truly magnificent it all is. I've always been a firm believer that a passion for nature can draw people together across all ethnicities and colors. Nature is blind to what we look like. It only sees us for who we truly are. But I get ahead of myself. I should be starting with where I truly began, my boyhood. I've always had a passion for nature, which I attribute to a natural inherited wilderness in our blood. And as humans, this inherited wilderness acts as an equality of passion that all humans share. But back to my roots. I was born into a drab little town on the high street of Dunbar. It was a nasty little seaport on Scotland's eastern shore and was a modern avenue of business and enterprise. I was born on the 21st day of April in 1838 in a small upstairs room above the streets. My mother swears to me that my first sound of nature was the maritime cry of a seagull flying overhead, and I believe her. Now you may be thinking, John, if you were born in what is essentially a city, how did you grow such a passion for nature? Well, I will admit it does seem a bit paradoxical. Everything green was carefully tucked away in back gardens. But I learned that when I was a boy in Scotland, I was fond of everything that was wild. And all my life I've been growing fonder and fonder of wild places and wild creatures. The city was a wild place for me, and it was the Scottish lowlands that always held a place in my heart. I always preferred Scottish oatmeal porridge for my breakfast, no matter where I was in my journey. I was taught to seek opportunities and accumulate fortunes through skill and bold ambition, to be open to and encourage change, and to make myself competent. The history of the Lowland Scots is one of an assertive, warlike, and resilient people. And this is where I came from. I came determined to prove myself and to improve the world. Many have said that I am a child of revolution, and my beliefs are based on a respect for the otherness of nature and the understanding of the emotional and material interdependence of humans and nature. I was always challenging the norm. I was considered a liberal, a Democrat, and a conservationist. I remember one time I was hiking near my beloved Yosemite Valley, and I came across the carcass of a bear, and I immediately sat down to mourn the bear. We were living in a time of liberal principles, but the age was not yet liberal enough for bears. In this time of liberal principles, I supported the social reforms of the day, whether it was the abolition of slavery, the emancipation of women, or opposition to militarism and war. I supported the equality of all and the maintenance of peace. I did, however, avoid politics as a way of seeking power for trivial ends. I was very nature-oriented, and my time in nature allowed me to arrive at moral positions more advanced than many of my contemporaries. I was the only one who came up with the idea that the government should have the responsibility of setting aside national parks, forests, and wildlife sanctuaries. I even helped get this implemented by working alongside my good friend Theodore Roosevelt. I was always a religious man, but God was a loose and imprecise term I used for referring to an active creative force dwelling in, above, and around nature. I even asked, what creature of all that the Lord has taken the pains to make is not essential to the completeness of that unit, the cosmos? They are earthborn companions and our fellow mortals. I worshipped all nature, God's work, and saw that the laws of nature were only another way of saying the laws of God. I always held fast to the fact that while we cannot live without the forces and creatures of the non-human world, they can live without us. There is no more to the world than humankind and its artifacts. Before I must go, I will leave you with this. Never fall into the trap of a coldly scientific analysis of anything. Write to explain and defend your position, regardless of what you would rather be doing. Become active in your beliefs, even if it is against the grain of your own desire and temperament. This will plunge you into conflicts that cannot be easily resolved, but power through. Nature helps give shape to the direction a man or woman takes, and I was shaped by the physical nature I encountered, the passions I felt, the people I met, and the ideas I encountered along the way. Never be content until you've climbed all the way to the top.